Welcome to B-rated, B-rated movies. I'm Anthony, and today we have a very special interview with LC Holt, the man who played Lamb Mask in Your Next, and he was a key character, Kyle, in VHS 2, and he is also a director, and he has directed Time's Up and the upcoming Time's Up, and he has also directed Watchdog, which will be out later in 2023. So enjoy this interview. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. We watched VHS 2 last week, but I do remember you were in. I do remember Your Next. That was one of my earlier favorite horror films.
Yes.
It's very enjoyable.
Yeah, Your Next is one that people still talk about. And we shot that. It's been over 10 years ago. And I've done a lot of stuff since then, including VHS 2. But those two movies are the movies that seem to really endure with people. Your Next and VHS 2, which of course the VHS series is ongoing. So, there's always a new one of those coming out every 2 or 3 years.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we should say, Your Next, you were the lamb mask or face, however, in that one.
I was the lamb mask in Your Next, and it's weird because the company actually the LLC, every movie has to have its own little limited liability company to get insurance and so forth. And it was actually called Lamb Mask Productions. So it's like
there you go.
That, I was like, well, I guess I'm important to this movie. So they, I guess ultimately I did a lot of killing and so forth.
You also had like a ton of, even with the mask on, it felt like there was more going on behind the mask, because it was just like one of the moments that kind of like stuck with me when I originally watched it was when the girl goes into the other guy's house looking for help, and like notices he's dead. Like that whole thing takes place, and then you just sit down next to him.
Right. Yeah. Larry Fessenden there was the actor who has been in a lot of stuff and actually is instrumental in Ty West's career. Of course, Ty West was in that movie. I shot him in the head with the arrow.
That's right.
And Larry discovered Ty and helped him get his first movie called Trigger Man made. And now, Ty has gone on to do, X and Pearl and everything in between, The Sacrament, which has a couple of Your Next actors in it. AJ and Joe Swanberg were in Sacrament. So Larry is actually pretty well known in the indie community. He's worked with Jim Jarmusch and Bill Murray. And
wow.
But in that movie, I killed the hell out of him. Right there at the beginning.
Yeah, you did.
I did, yeah. I was there for like 12 hours that night for that 5-second shot of me grabbing his throat and hitting him in the head with the machete or whatever it was, and then I did I sat down next to him on the couch, which I knew Adam Wingard, who directed the movie. I've known him for years. I knew he would like that. We did multiple takes of that, me sitting down next to him on the couch, and eventually I just did the little head tilt at the end, and I knew that's gonna be in the movie. Like Adam's gonna like that, and sure enough, after all those takes we did, the one that's in the movie is when I sit down and tilt my head. I was like, yeah, I knew he would like that.
Awesome. So I know that like VHS 2 and Your Next are the ones that people know, but like, are there any other movies that are like your favorite? that are the ones that you enjoyed the most that you
One of
were
my
in?
favorite movies was the second movie me and Wingard did together, because we ended up doing 4 movies together. We did a movie called Homesick, which had Bill Moseley in it, and Tom Tolles and Tiffany Shepis, and then we did this movie called Pop Skull, which Pop Skull is one of my favorite movies I've done, and it was done over a long period of time, shot on DV for like $3,000. It ended up premiering at the Rome Film Festival and got all these critical accolades, and it really started, I think, even more than Homesick, kind of started Adam's career, because he co-wrote it, directed it, edited it, shot it, did all of that himself.
Wow.
And then he went on to, kind of edit all of his stuff up until You're Next. And I think he might have edited The Guest, which he did after, but nowadays with Godzilla versus King Kong, everybody has a different job, so you can't really do that so much. But because there are unions and things. But yeah, I mean, I really like that movie Pop Skull that we did. And then years after Pop Skull, years after that, we did You're Next, and then VHS 2. Pop Skull is a hard one to find because it was sold to a distributor that promptly went out of business. And when you sell your film to a distributor, you basically are licensing it for distribution exclusively through whatever the company is. So when the company, in that case, I can't remember the name of it, but it went under, and they still retained the rights for like 10 years. Couldn't do anything with it, even though the company didn't exist anymore.
Oh wow!
Now they have the rights back, and I'm kind of hoping Pop Skull will come out. I know there was some talk of like doing a box set of his movies, and that'd be nice to see that.
It says you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah, there were the original DVD copies of it are going pretty. You buy them on eBay or something. They're like $90 or something, I think.
Yeah, this is pre-owned condition of it for $200.
Oh shit! What's gone up?
Yeah, there's another one where it says pre-owned, like new, for $300.
Wow. Yeah,
but then you got to pay $3 for a delivery fee as well.
Yeah, that's why. That's why, because there was the company went under, and they're rare. But I mean, I really like that movie because it was just total ingenuity that made it what it is, and very homemade in a way that none of the other ones were. Obviously by the time we did You're Next, there was a substantial budget, and there was a good budget on VHS 2 as well. But Pop Skull was really a homemade movie and just went through the roof with critics, and like I say, really started Adam's career in a big way. And it's a good story too. I mean, it's really trippy and strange, but I kind of like that about it. So yeah, I would like for Pop Skull to get out there for people to see it.
We'd like that too, because we could definitely do an episode on that.
Yeah, because like we said, like we always talk about, the best kind of movies is the ones where you can actually put yourself in them. So like that's with, I don't want to say bring up You're Next again, but how many people go camping and then all of a sudden you're in the middle of the woods at a cabin and stuff can go wrong, and then same with VHS. Like that's just like Anthony and I were talking about that movie or VHS 2, where it's like, okay, so it says don't watch them in order, but then what if the people are like, I'm going to purposely put these out of order so that way when you do watch them, they're going to be in order, like to try to get more people to get them.
Well, it was a pretty brilliant concept, which I think was mainly Brad Miska, who was the guy over at Bloody Disgusting. I think he came up with the concept of the VHS thing, doing the anthology, and then having, it be found VHS tapes and all that, which is a pretty ingenious concept. And obviously they've gotten a lot of play out of it because they're about to do 5, the 5th one.
Wow. Oh, wow, yeah. Because I know the 4th one just came out.
Yeah, the 4th one came out, and now they just announced all the directors for the 5th one. the other day, I think. Um,
Hmm.
so but in terms of acting, when you do a VHS movie, you're pretty much one and done because of the nature of the concept. People are always asking me like, how do they get into a VHS movie, or how do you audition for it? And I'm like, guys, I did the one of mine, and I don't have any involvement in any of the others. I mean, the nature of the story is that the characters don't continue, and if anybody really watched my segment of VHS 2, which was the wraparound segment, um, I don't know what I would do if I came back,
Well, you'd have
Um,
to have some reconstructive surgery.
I would, yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of stories behind that too. The whole making of that, which I don't know how deeply you want to get into that, but I'll go there if you want to.
Oh yeah, we can go there. Yeah, we'll
Well,
go as far and as deep as you'd like to go into these movies.
I mean,
I that,
VHS,
that feels weird.
yeah, but I know what you mean. VHS two was, I mean, it was a hard shoot because of the makeup, because that was
Yeah.
practical. That was practical. Obviously, the scene where I blow my face off, that's a CGI effect.
Okay.
But when I sit back up, that's real makeup. And, when it was first applied to me, it went from one ear across my upper lip to the other ear because my lower jaw is missing. And I was sitting there, and I've done prosthetic work in the past. And, I was smelling the glue, and I was thinking, this smells really strong. But then I was just telling myself, well, it's right under my nostrils, so maybe I'm just smelling it more than I would in a normal situation. And so I shot the first day with it, and they took it off, and lo and behold, there's a purple line across my face from one ear across my lip to the other. It chemical burned my face.
Oh.
It was just the adhesive was just too mixed too strongly,
Oh
and
wow.
and then the best part about that is the illusion of the face was a depth perception. So if I held my head back, it looked like my jaw was missing. If I held my head forward, it looked like I just had a big elephantine head, because obviously my real jaw was still there. So the
Yeah.
illusion only works if I hold my head back. Well, no one told me this. And so the first day when I got my face chemical burned, we actually couldn't use any of that footage.
Oh, so you went through all that for.
Wow.
Yeah, and so then I had to reshoot the first day, holding my head back to create the illusion. Because I did look at the footage, they showed me it from that first shoot, and it looked weird. It looked like my face was about 3 feet longer than it should have been. And so then I had to reapply it like two more times after that. So you can just imagine reapplying something over an already burned area of skin is not the most comfortable thing. So I think
No.
by
Oh yeah.
the last day, what they did was they just wrapped my lower face in saran wrap. And they applied it to the saran wrap and then sort of mixed it, blended it in. So they were trying to find all kinds of ways to not make this burn worse. So when I eventually flew back from Los Angeles, I flew back to the airport and the plane with a big purple line across the center of my face. And I'm
Ooh.
sure the other people in the airport thought, well, he must have some exotic disease because, he looks very strange, which
Yeah.
I did. But they paid me more and they gave me all these salves and stuff to put on there. And eventually the line went away. But it was a little bit freaky because I didn't know if I was going to live the rest of my life with a big purple line across my face.
Yeah.
Um,
Scary.
but yeah, so that was an unusual experience. Other than that, I really enjoyed everybody. I worked on. I mean, Simon Barrett, who wrote and produced Your Next, it was the first movie that he directed. Was that segment of VHS two, and we hadn't finished Your Next maybe a month or two when Simon called me up and offered me that part in VHS two, and I couldn't talk about it because no one was supposed to know they were even doing a sequel. So it was
Mhm.
kind of, I think, the first time I'd worked on a movie that was super secret in so much as I couldn't even say what I was leaving town for. I couldn't talk to anybody about what I was doing until the movie was announced because they really wanted to keep the sequel to VHS a total secret. So even though Your Next had a lot of secrecy around it, VHS 2 is still to this day the most secretive movie I've ever been a part of in terms of I couldn't tell anybody anything. All they knew I was going to film something.
That's
So
awesome.
Wow.
How
so
long
then
did you keep it a secret for?
it was until they announced the movie was being made, and it was months and months, and then finally once they said, it was I was in VHS two, and the VHS two was being made, then I could talk about it to some extent. Not give away spoilers, like not say that I blew
Yeah.
my face off, for instance. But I could say I was at least in the movie called VHS two, which
Like,
when we
there's an
shot it,
opening
it was
scene, right?
it was the wraparound, so it was like the opening in the middle, and then at the end. Yeah,
No, it was good.
yeah, and I mean when I shot it, it actually wasn't called VHS two; it was called SVHS. Um,
Hmm.
and so that was the original title, and then I think people were like, "Is anyone even going to connect that this is the sequel to VHS with that title?" So they were just like, "Let's just call it
Mm.
VHS two." So that's how it wound up with that title.
Yeah.
Yeah. To avoid the I still know what you did last summer and I'll always know what you did last summer thing.
Right? Yeah. Which still doesn't
Just
make any
bad titling.
sense. It's like it should
None.
be. I still know what you did 2 summers ago, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess
Let's
But
that's
just
the
start throwing dates in. It's
yeah.
that
And
easier.
then, and then eventually it becomes I'll always know what you did 10 summers ago, and then it just becomes too complicated.
yeah.
Bringing it back.
Well,
Uh,
so it's like so you did acting and then you have also directed movies as well.
Yeah,
So
I did. I directed a movie called Time's Up. Before that, I directed an experimental kind of feature film called Spiritus, and then I directed Time's Up, which comes out this holiday season. And
which we're looking forward to that.
last
mhm.
week, I actually wrapped up directing principal photography on a movie called Watchdog.
I
Yep,
saw that.
seen that.
Yeah, so we've just wrapped that up like a week ago. So I'm still in recovery mode.
Oh wow.
Well, I
It's
mean,
got to be intense.
it's a great experience. That was the best experience I've ever had directing a movie, but it's very draining to direct movies. Um, I mean, it's a physical, intellectual, emotional experience that you go through for a very intense and short period of time, and and shooting it, and yeah, I mean, I'm always in awe of people like Martin Scorsese or Steven Spielberg, or I mean, guys that are in their 60s and 70s, and it's unbelievable. I mean, they've mastered the art of how one takes care of themselves during the shoot. That's the only way you could do it because it's very draining to do, but also probably the most rewarding form of filmmaking because, like in the case of those movies I mentioned, I wrote all those movies, so you literally
Wow.
see something that existed solely in your mind come to life. And at the end, this thing never would have existed had you not been born. So it's a really gratifying experience because you see it all the way through from something that exists solely in your imagination to something that now all these people are watching in a theater or on their at home streaming or whatever. I mean, it's kind of a trip, man. It's really rewarding.
That's
I
awesome.
bet. I know some people have referred to like the filming of the movie as like the first cut, then the writing is the first cut, the filming is the second cut, and then the edit is the third cut. And like how do you, if you were the writer, like differentiate the written word from what you're seeing and how to like adjust more or less?
Well, I mean, that's a pretty good assessment of it. The writing is, the because you write a film and then you do many drafts of the film. Because what I do, or what I've done, especially with Watchdog, I write the script, then we have a reading of the entire script with the actors who are cast. And then after that, I do weeks and weeks and weeks of rehearsals with the actors working on various scenes. And throughout that entire process, you're writing, you're rewriting it, you're adjusting it. It's really a lot easier once you hear the people who are actually going to play the roles say the lines to know when you overwrote something, when you need to adjust something, when you need to take this out. So it's a constantly kind of organic process. And it is true, like when you write the script, that we finish the script, that's one version of the movie. And then when you shoot it, you know, you're now in locations and you're working on it with a schedule and a very set time limit, and you're working with people, many people. So you do have to adjust then you work with the editor, and then you fine tune it, fine tune it, fine tune it, fine tune it, and really, when you're finished with the edit, that's the final movie. So it's always a constantly organic, changing process, and you have to be able to adjust to everything that comes along and still keep the overall vision um, consistent. And the goal is actually to make it better than what you wrote. You know,
Okay.
and that was the case with Watchdog. I mean, Watchdog was such a great experience with so many great people. I handpicked the entire crew and the cast. I storyboarded the movie from beginning to end. I scheduled it. I was involved with every single step of the way with the film. And so, it was really kind of the first really great experience I've had as a director. And I'm so excited for people, even though we're just now going into post production, I'm so excited for people to see Watchdog because I really think we made something really different and really special with that movie. And um, I just can't wait for people to see it. And of course, Time's Up comes out this holiday season, so it'll be fun for people to see that film as well.
Which we kind of heard about that one from Dave Sheridan because we talked to him previously, and like that does look interesting. Can you tell us a little about like what Time's Up is, what it's about, what we should expect?
Well, Time's Up is a slasher film set on New Year's Eve, and it's about a group of teachers who are still kind of recovering from the suicide of a student. And there's a lot of controversy in the town about bullying and how much the teachers actually, their apathy played into this kid dying. And then suddenly, at the middle of this New Year's Eve party, this person wearing a Father Time mask shows up and demands for these teachers to go on a scavenger hunt. And basically, you either go on the scavenger hunt or you die. And it's the journey through the night with this group of teachers as they try to outwit this Father Time character who is just trying to pick them off one by one by one. And by the end of the movie, you learn who the killer is, who's behind the mask, and why they did it, and how it all ties together. So it's sort of a whodunit slasher, in the vein of, I mean, if you want to go really classic, something like Prom Night, or if you wanted to say more modern stuff, something like Scream.
Very cool.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and it premiered in August at the Popcorn Frights Film Festival. That's when people finally got to see it. And
okay.
And that was quite. Everything seemed to be really pretty positive. The audience seemed to have reacted well to it. And I'm just excited for that movie to finally come out. It's been 3 years in the making, and it's finally going to come out this holiday season. And So yeah, I'm interested to see. I'm just excited for people to see Times Up finally. You know,
Yeah, especially
but
for it
yes,
taking that
Nice.
long. Yeah.
but yeah, Dave was in it. Dave was in it. Felissa Rose, Jonathan Tiersten, also from Sleepaway Camp. Damien
Oh wow.
Maffei, Anna Fearman. Um, I'm in it, which I usually don't act in films that I direct, but I was in Times Up. Um, and a lot of younger people too in it, who are just kind of starting out. Yeah, it's a great cast.
Nice.
Looking forward to people seeing it.
Yeah. And now, as far as like Watch Dogs, is there like anything we should know about that one?
Well, I mean,
Watch.
Or Watch Dog? Sorry.
Watchdog. Yeah, what I'm most interested in is doing the my versions of different subgenres. So, Times Up was a slasher film, and Watchdog is more of a home invasion film.
Oh,
Um, it's very grounded, and it's about a crime that occurs one night in Alabama when a guy who is trying to be you know basically really nice to this drifter who helps him out of a situation. The guy gets mugged, and he's like, "This guy doesn't have anywhere to go, so I'm going to invite him back to my house. He's got a bus to catch tomorrow, and he can sleep on the couch, and I'm sure my girlfriend won't mind." And well, this, that it's that old saying of, no good deed goes unpunished, and then all hell breaks loose in their house, and then it's just a fight to survive. It's actually Fangoria said something very interesting when they wrote their first article about it. They said it was a reverse home invasion, which is a pretty good way of putting it because it's really more about you trying to get out of the house than somebody trying to get in because you've already invited them in. Genius, you know.
Yeah.
And but it's really a really, I mean, I'm telling you guys, when you see it, there is shit in that movie that disturbed the hell out of me when we were shooting it. Like, it was
wow.
really, really intense. And the performances, Cheney Morrow is in it, who was also in Time's Up. He was in Haunt. He was in Wrong Turn Foundation. Wes
Okay.
Robinson from Blair Witch, the remake or the sequel, sort of, that Wayne Grew
Oh
Barry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Another actress named Celeste Blandon, Mark Patton from A Nightmare on Elm Street 2,
Oh.
Felissa Rose again working. She'll be in anything I direct. I love Felissa, and
We met her. She is the nicest person.
Yes.
oh,
She's amazing.
such a positive energy. She actually co-produced Time's Up and Watchdog with me.
Oh
So
wow.
No.
we're sort of producing partners, but at the same time, just as an actress, I really think that she's like wildly underrated. Like, she's a really good actress. I just don't know that she always gets the opportunities, to really show that. But
Oh
I'm going
yeah.
to give them to her. Like I said, anytime I direct a movie, she's going to be in it. It's just one of those things. But yeah, it was a great cast, and for Watchdog, and I'm really excited for people to see it and be just equally unnerved by the madness that comes pouring out of my mind sometimes.
Awesome.
No.
Which
Yes.
the other movie that I kind of checked out was Terror Trips,
Yeah.
which that one, like, it kind of threw me off. Like, it's so well written that I didn't realize until I finished the movie that there's not a movie called The Black Volga.
Hmm.
Like, because it was that well sold. And I almost thought that where it was filmed was actually like in like the Ukraine or something,
Right. Yeah. In Poland.
or like Poland. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I still have no idea if the Black Volga was a real movie or not. It wasn't. I don't know.
No, I looked it up like
Yeah.
because I wasn't sure,
Yeah.
and it said it wasn't a real movie.
Well, okay. Yeah, I never knew actually. I was in the movie and I never knew that whether it was or it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, it seems like it is when you watch the movie.
It's
Especially
very well
since
sold.
they mention a lot of movies that are real, so it makes you believe. Well, this one obviously must be real as well, because it talks about Hell House and Dawn of the Dead and all that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, but we didn't shoot that in Poland. It was pretty well done in the way that we shot it in. Really, most of that was in Indiana. Shot it in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, and
And made it look like Poland.
and they made Indiana look like Poland. We actually shot it on a soybean farm in Indiana,
Wow.
but it looked like Poland. I mean, they had the plates on the cars and all that, and a lot of the actors who were in it who played Russians were really Russian. Some were not, but they pulled it off really well. But some were. And then there was an actress who was Polish who spoke Polish in that movie, and yeah, there were. Well, it seemed like people liked it. You never know how people are going to react to movies, and really as an actor, you just do your job and just leave all the rest of that to people. To react how they want to. Like I don't read. I mean, even when I direct, I don't really read. I know some director friends of mine that get all hung up on reviews, and it's like, well, dude, nowadays everybody's a reviewer. I mean, you don't have to be Siskel or Ebert. You just have to own a
Yeah.
computer or a phone.
Mm-hmm.
And the key really is to just do something that you're proud of, because from the filmmaking standpoint, I can tell you it's incredibly hard to make anything that's even remotely watchable. I mean, once you start making a movie, the odds are completely against you. And that's just the way it
Wow.
goes. So I don't think sometimes people who just sort of randomly get on IMDb or wherever and write a scathing review, I don't really think that they understand how difficult it is to make something that's watchable. So when you see something that's good, I mean, I'll just tell you, once I got into filmmaking as an actor and as a producer, really, and as a director, I became a lot more like forgiving of movies that I watch. Not everything is necessarily to my taste. It might not be like what I would do, but I really tend to try and appreciate things for what they are. Doesn't mean I love everything, but I am pretty forgiving, because it's once you go on the other side of that curtain, you see that people generally are trying to make stuff that's good, but you are fighting the odds when you're making a movie. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And if you can come out on ahead on that fight, then you not only have you gone a full 12 rounds more times than not, but you're pretty lucky.
Definitely. Yeah, like I can understand that because I know that I heard about like review bombing is kind of like a thing now, that you'll get that first wave of reviews, and if something does too well, then all of a sudden the negative reviews start to come out.
Right.
And
And
like
also there is a weird, like, because nowadays everybody wants to be a filmmaker. So, um, some of the reviews I'm sure are just other filmmakers trying to, put you down so you don't continue,
yeah.
because, the movie business is really cutthroat and competitive, and, it's not really creative in this. I mean, it's creative, but it's unfortunately not purely creative. There's a lot of ulterior motives, and there's a lot of people who sort of just, you know, it's that old saying, "We'll trip everybody so that way you'll be ahead." Um,
Yeah, which is kind of sad.
it is, but it's kind of unavoidable, I suppose.
Yeah.
So all you can really do is do the best work you can, and be proud of what you've done. And generally, you know when you did okay, and you know when you did bad. And I've been pretty fortunate to have, as an actor, been in movies that most of them turned out okay. There's really only one movie that just thought was horrible, I won't say what that movie is out of respect for,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
it was many years ago, and nothing I've done recently. I've actually had a lot of positive experiences as an actor. I've been very fortunate that way, because it's sometimes challenging. But I have a whole
Yeah.
slew of movies coming out as an actor that I can't wait for people to see. Terror Trips finally did come out, but there are others that are on the way that you know I can't wait for people to see. Movie I did called Phantom Fun World,
Oh,
and
yes. We're gonna talk to Tori Jones
yeah,
next month.
it was
I
my
saw.
it
Yeah.
was the
Sorry. Go
first
ahead.
movie. It was the first movie I have done since You're Next, where I wore a mask because I avoided it because there was a time when it seemed like anybody that offered me a mask role, I was just going to be like, the goat or like just pick your animal, the horse, or something. I was like, I just don't want to be the guy in every animal mask. um,
Yeah.
so I avoided those roles for over 10 years, and then Tori brought me Phantom Fun World and really good script, like a really really good script, and I thought, well, this will be the one to do, and I had the most fun playing that part. It was so much
Nice.
fun. And then there's another movie I did called Party Bus. The trailer just recently came out, um, where I'm a really sadistic son of a bitch in that movie. It's probably the most sadistic character I've ever played, and that's really saying something.
Do you enjoy
Um,
Party
playing
bus.
sadistic?
movie
Yeah.
called Party Bus. Yeah,
Party bus. Yeah.
yeah. What were you saying?
Oh yeah. Would you enjoy playing like dark sadistic like that?
Um, you know, something I discovered as both an actor and a director is if it disturbs you, then it usually is the most affecting thing when you see it because it's there's just something about it that tends to translate. And there was stuff on Party Bus that I was doing that I found really disturbing, even for me. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, I'm really interested to see how that one comes out. It's great cast, great director. I shot that out in Arizona. Um, so that's really only two. I mean, there's a movie I just shot called Macabre Mountain, which
Oh yeah, we
Felissa,
heard about that one.
Yeah, I was about to say
yep,
we have that's on our list.
Felissa's in that one. Dave is in that one. Dave Sheridan. We got to have some really fun scenes together. And there is a movie called Butcher's Bluff, which is just an old school slasher movie I shot in Texas a while back. Um, that has some really interesting people in it. Great director. So I'm sure I'm forgetting. Oh, a movie called Go Away I did that had
Oh,
Tom
Dave.
Matthews.
Yeah, Dave Kerr mentioned that one as well.
Yep,
We talked to
Dave
Hmm.
him. Yeah.
Kerr. Dave Kerr directed that.
Which he
Um,
is like speaking of him, he was like the thing that struck me about him is he's very like soft spoken, but at the same time it feels like he has thought about things a lot.
well,
That's what I got from him.
he has a great group. Him and Tori both have great groups of filmmakers that surround them, and I've been fortunate of late to find a great group, and that's really important to have a good atmosphere on the set because sometimes it can be hard to act, and if you have a crew that isn't professional and doesn't really allow you space to be um, free, makes you self conscious, makes the job a lot harder.
Oh
Um,
wow.
oh, and then there's another movie called Late Checkout,
Hmm.
um, which has Felissa's in. Me and Felissa have been in so many movies at this point; it's crazy. Um, but I just love her so much. She's such a great friend, and we're actually talking about another movie. I don't know if I can mention it just yet, but I was on the phone with her, and I think I'm going to do another movie with her in January. So
Oh nice.
yeah,
Literally that cliffhanger. Dun dun dun.
Maybe they've announced it. I don't know that. Maybe they announced that I'm going to be in it, but I feel like I should err on the side of caution and not give it
All
away.
right.
Right. Like, who was it?
Yeah.
Tom Holland, when he opened up that Avengers poster upside down,
Yeah,
showed everybody.
that's the
He's like,
thing.
what is this? Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
because
do it.
nowadays it's like NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, and everything, and everyone is so terrified, rightly so, of the internet because once one thing gets out there,
Mm-hmm.
it's like and then you
Like
don't want to have like
wildfire.
you don't want to have the going the Marvel route. You don't want to have like the Mark Ruffalo syndrome where you're just sitting in an
Oh
interview
yeah.
and then you say, well, half the people die in the new one. It's like, whoops.
Well, yeah, it's like, what was it? I remember Don Cheadle says he hates doing interviews with Mark Ruffalo because Mark
Yeah.
Ruffalo talks too much.
Yeah. Well, I had a good friend who worked on a Mark Ruffalo movie called Dark Waters and just says, I've never met Mark Ruffalo, but he said Mark Ruffalo is just like the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet, like unusually
Seems
nice
like it.
for a celebrity, because some of them aren't very nice, but
Mm.
I can certainly attest to that. But no, a lot of them are. A lot of people are nice, but every so often doing conventions and stuff like I've done, you'll run across someone that you go, yikes.
Yeah.
And they don't really treat they don't really treat me badly because I'm like an actor, but you'll see how they treat the people that really matter, who are the fans.
Oh, okay.
The people who were like, because this is the way I see it, for every person you meet, it might not be a big deal for you, but it might be a huge deal for them. And, these are the people that come to your movies, pay for your streaming, go to the theater or whatever. And, you really wouldn't be anywhere without the people that watch the movie.
That's
And,
true.
I do these conventions and things, and I don't really understand how people. And most actors aren't like this, but there are some actors who just seem like they don't want to be there. And my position is, well, then you shouldn't come. Because if
Well,
you
yeah,
can find
it's-
something wrong with a week sitting there for a whole weekend, not doing anything, getting paid for it, and having everyone tell you you're great, well, there's something wrong with you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well,
I'm getting really honest in this interview.
the hard questions.
the hard hitters.
That's right.
No, I think it's everywhere too. When you get to, we used to go to the like Mr. Olympia stuff, and it was the same thing. As soon as they get big and huge, they're like, "Hey, what's up?" There's like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
I think it was, they let it get to their head too high.
That's right. That's right.
But-
And like I say, a lot of the actors at conventions aren't like that. But every so often,
Yeah.
you'll find a real.
majority. Everybody's nice.
Yeah, I mean, you get people like Felissa or Robert England, or there's a reason why people keep coming back to meet them over and over and over again. It's just because they're so damn nice to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Robert England, you practically have to walk away from him.
Wow.
He'll just keep talking to you, and because Robert loves to tell stories, and he's worked with everybody, and he'll just sit there and tell you stories, and on top of stories, and Felissa's the same way, and there are other people like that, and that's what people appreciate. They appreciate being treated like a person and not like, some goofy guy that's walking up to you,
Yeah, like we were just met, Felissa and Dave. Was it last weekend?
Yeah,
And
last
there's
week.
a couple people. We were in line waiting to meet them, but they took a good 45 minutes talking to every single person.
Yes.
And you're like,
Yeah.
that's nuts that you're actually, instead of just being like, okay, here you go, and I leave.
Right.
Like the amount of time, the amount of pictures, the amount of, like, I don't want to say bullshit, and that they were doing with everybody, joking and talking and, posting everything that you can think of. Like, we're just like, they're spending a lot of time. Like, it was crazy how, like, nice and everything they were with every single person.
Yeah. Yeah, and it matters. It matters because to that person, that might be the only time that person ever gets to meet you in their life. You know,
Yeah.
you should just kind of approach it like that. Like, you know, just be good to people.
I
I
agree.
try. I try to be good to people. I try to always be good to people, and because I know what it's like. Because I'll be at these conventions sometimes, and when you really know somebody's had a bad experience with a celebrity, is when they'll come up to your table. You have nothing to do with that celebrity. You might not even know them personally, and they'll start telling you the story of how bad the experience was. This happened one time in at Horror Hound in Cincinnati, and I won't say who the celebrity is, but they were on The Walking Dead. I'll give you that. And
Okay.
I don't know how many people came up to my table and was telling me their bad experiences with this person. I was like, wow.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But anyway, I won't go into any more specifics because that would just be rude.
No, I think we always. I think we need to open up a second podcast with all the PSAs that we get when we talk to everybody, and the
Yeah.
PSAs from the movie. But it's basically like generally like don't be a dick, right? We get that in
Don't
a
be a
bunch
dick.
of a bunch of the movies. Like we always go with well, there's the reason why this person's being killed right now is because they're assholes, and it's like there you go. If that person would have been an asshole, this movie wouldn't have been made. So, PSAs.
Yeah. And these things they get around too. Like there were some people who have really straightened up their act because it was just getting around from convention appearances alone. That they were just horrible to go up to, and now they've kind of changed their tune. But sometimes you know once the boat leaves the dock, it's hard to come back.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll leave names out of that one too.
You say we always say we blame everything on Carl. Every single one of our episodes, there's somebody named Carl. Where it's like, there's Carl right there.
Yeah. It's Carl. Well, Carl, actually, I met Carl. What was that? Chandler? Chandler was the real nice kid.
Where's in general, just
Oh, you
anybody
just
named
mean
Carl.
just Carl's, like
Yeah, like
Karen.
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody named Carl. You're just like,
Yeah.
yep, there it is.
I'm actually used to Chad. That's usually what people say to me. Oh, there's a Chad.
Oh
over
yeah.
A Chad. All right.
It's the young kids say that a lot now.
Chad.
Carl's still funny, but it's probably
Yeah.
from that meme. It's probably from that meme where it's like Carl. Yeah.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that's what people they always think about Carl because of how unusually Andrew Lincoln said the name,
Coral,
Coral.
because he's a British guy doing a Southern accent.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he was saying Coral.
I'll give it. He does a pretty good one. Having been from the South, I'm like,
Oh, he does. Yeah.
That one is kind of a pass. There are other ones, but it's like being from the South. I'm sure is like being from Brooklyn. You hear a bad accent, and you go, "Geez, that." Ugh.
Well, it's like I don't know if you ever watched that show, but there was that show early 2000s. I think it is a Ryan Murphy show. Popular.
I've never seen it, but I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah, there was I think one of the blonde girl who plays a Southern girl. She said she intentionally did a Southern accent with like no diphthong or anything, and made it sound so cartoony, just intentionally. Like didn't go to a voice coach.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, there are. I can blame. There are certain things that you see in TV shows, especially. Clearly, the same voice coach is teaching them how to pronounce certain words because they're like universally done wrong, and I wouldn't notice it unless the fact that I was born in Alabama, so I have an ear that's kind of tuned to what it sounds like, and if I see one more TV show set in the South where somebody says anything, it's going to drive me. I'm just going to go up the wall. I've never, in all my life living in the South, growing up there, I never heard anyone say anything. but there's one voice coach out there. Watch True Blood.
Oh yeah, I've seen all the seasons.
Yeah, every time someone says anything, they'll say anything. I'm like, I've never heard that in the South ever.
Oh yeah, like Sookie, like what's her name? I can't think of her name right now, but she does that a lot.
Yeah, and the brother too. But they're both really good actors. I'm not blaming them. But
Oh yeah.
it's some voice coach out there.
We're
Oh yeah,
coming
Ryan
for you, voice
Quanten.
coach.
Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, he was good in that show too. He was great.
He was great in that show.
Yeah.
They're doing it on purpose. I remember in college I was taking Japanese for a couple of years, and whenever I had to do a group presentation, I would put on like a harsh, like Caucasian accent. But when I'd have to do my presentations, like I wouldn't have an accent at all into it, and they'd be like, "Why do you do that, man?" And I'm like, "It's just funny," you know. They're just like, "You're such a dick," but past them. Wow.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, they might be just fucking with us.
Maybe. Maybe because if they do it too well, then we're not going to remember their performance. But when they do those little mistakes, that's what people notice.
They're sitting there going, well, we have to give LC Holt something to bitch about. So
No.
The reason I stopped watching medical shows, because every time they make a mistake, I notice it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's a ton of those.
Oh, yeah.
You tell them to do the mistakes. Neck IVs. Neck IVs. That's the thing that we're pushing for. But
Yeah. So,
all right, man.
all right. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if there's. No, appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Always super. I guess surprised when people are like, "Yeah, we'll come over there," especially like people like you, David, like every of us that we've had on the show or the episodes. So really appreciate you taking your time out, man.
We do. We really appreciate this.
Yeah, no, it was a fun conversation. That's my favorite kind of interviews is where you just talk.
Without the hard questions like, what kind of car do you have? What kind of interest rate did you get on it?
Exactly.
When was this time rotated your tires? We got to do something.
There's always, inevitably, occasionally, I should say, you will run across a podcast where it's the most awkward experience of your life, and you're just trying to stay afloat.
Oh, yeah.
But this was not the case, so I appreciate you guys.
Hopefully.
I'm glad.
One more question then.
Okay.
Is your Halloween stuff set up yet outside of your house?
No, it's not, actually.
Oh.
I usually don't do a lot of stuff for the holidays, even Halloween, but I keep it all inside. So it's Halloween inside my house, and usually it all is on my television because that's when I'll watch all the movies I grew up watching.
It's just nonstop.
Which are you counting the days to Halloween ends?
I mean, I'll watch it. I've seen all of them, so there's no reason to stop now.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I like seeing. I've actually kind of liked these last couple, Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills. I mean, Halloween Ends. There's a part of me that's just like, yeah, for 3 years until you reboot it again,
Yeah.
And then it'll be, Danielle will come back and it'll be the Jamie Lloyd timeline where she never died, and it'll just pick up from part 5 or whatever. So it'll always it'll go on and on and on. I learned a long time ago that as long as you're making money, man, they ain't never going to stop those sequels. And these new ones have been very, very successful, but they're very well made for sure. I think David Gordon Green and Danny McBride of all people, who knew?
Yeah, I mean they got a funny guy to write a scary movie.
Yeah, and they do it really well. Like they're taking it seriously, and it's I liked a lot of the cast, and obviously they're high quality movies. I mean, they're real movies. They're not like cheap direct to video sequels, which somehow Halloween always avoided.
I mean, in the middle, it got kind of like 4, 5, 6 was kind of weird.
Oh, don't even get me started on 4, 5, and 6. 4, I didn't really have that much of a problem with. I thought that was okay.
That was good.
5, I was starting to get slightly perplexed, and then by 6, I was just like, "What the hell is going on here?"
He's a sci-fi created super killer.
Really strange.
Has a cult.
Yeah, and that is really strange.
Yeah.
What?
Probably good that they dropped that whole runes and thorns and
the cult of the thorn.
Yeah, just kind of wrote themselves into a corner there. But
yeah.
But then Jamie Lee came back the first time and revived it. And then there was that Busta Rhymes travesty.
Oh, God.
And then there was the Rob Zombie films, which people have retroactively started to hate more. But I remember when that first Rob Zombie movie came out, people liked that shit. I mean, they really
it was good.
Yeah.
And now
it was different.
Now it's like cool to hate it for some reason. I don't really know why, but
well, okay. I mean, I can get why people don't love it, because I feel like if you love the original, then this is just like it just feels like a redneck version of the original.
well, it is Rob Zombie, so
Yeah. But that's what he does, so they probably shouldn't have asked him to do that if people were going to have this reaction. But the thing that I kind of like sorry, go ahead.
No, he always rednecks it up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I love the second one because they did that strange thing that I didn't see coming, where like you're watching one scene, but you're hearing somebody die over the top of that scene, and you can tell exactly what's happening just from the sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was so cool.
Well, I think Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 had some really strong stuff in there. I think overall maybe it didn't work super well, but they had some scenes in there that were really strong, I thought. I mean, especially, that the moment with Brad Dourif in the bathroom where he finds his daughter's been murdered.
That's right, yeah.
You just don't see that in a slasher movie where you see the actual emotional repercussion of someone's murder. Usually it's like, well, isn't it so fun that everyone's dead? And in that moment, you saw that this was a father who just lost his daughter, and he's emotionally destroyed. And it's like, yep, that's what murder really is. It's not fun. It's gross, and it's horrible. And I thought, and for Rob Zombie to do that, I thought was really unusual, because he's so, he likes the sadistic. But I thought that was really emotionally charged in a way you don't usually see. I was like, wow, okay, cool.
Yeah, it was
a real strong scene.
That scene, I still think about that scene when I think about that movie.
Yeah, great scene. And of course, Brad Dourif is just such a great actor,
Thank you for listening to the podcast. We are available on Apple, Google, Stitcher, and Spotify. Give us a like and subscribe if you like what you hear.